Here's what happened. I was talking to my life partner, Adriana, who runs a luxury travel agency. And this is where the idea came up of getting specific with different industries and sharing with you how to feel more energized. So, the one to kick it off is going to be focused on how to feel more energized working on your luxury travel agency. Thinking back to, she's shared with me all the challenges that can come up if that's feeling like your attention is all over the place, dealing with DMCs, planning trips yourself, what country or area to focus on, design fees, dealing with commissions. There's a lot that's happening in that industry, in the industry. And so I go back to this really important quote from Missy Butcher, which is, "The work will never stop. It's up to you to decide when it stops." And that's really important for, especially if you're dealing with different time zones with travel. It can feel like there's no way to put a structure or a container around this. And I want to share with you a sequence of strategies that can help you to feel more energized, to help create that container for yourself, so you can create more momentum for your business that you're working on, and the quality of life that your business is there to support. So let's get into it. This is Make Burnout Extinct. I'm Robert David Weeks. Thank you for being here. Welcome back. If you're new here, welcome. And if you haven't done it yet, you can subscribe and follow the show for the latest episodes. I get really excited for this commitment I have that I've made through this show, of sharing with you what it really takes to make burnout extinct. Going back to when I hit burnout in 2018 after the social media conference I founded, where 500 people came together, and then not only sharing that through my own personal experience, because I go to this quote, "An ounce of prevention is worth a pound of cure." If you can deal with this before you hit burnout, which how I define it is a major life transition that's forced on you by your body, and in the context of the business, it means having to either close down the business or let go of the business because your body does not have that capacity to handle either the growth that's happening right now or the challenges that you're dealing with in your business. And both of those can cause you to feel stressed, where over time that can compound into chronic stress and then lead you down a one-way ticket to hitting burnout. And chronic stress is the body's enemy number one. It's the burnout beast, as I call it, a weapon of choice for you. And so what I want to make sure you remember is that it absolutely is possible for you to make burnout extinct. The simplest way I can answer that for how you do that is to feel more energized than drained in your life. And through this show, I want to share with you different strategies, insights for how to make that happen and figuring out your right way. Because another quote from John Butcher, "There is no one right way, but there is a right way for you." And through this show, I want you to be able to have that space for yourself to figure out your right way, because you can get shitted on all over the place by other people. If you should try this strategy, should try this insight, or this habit. And I can get guilty of that, of sharing with you all these different habits that you can try, but it's for you to decide what resonates for you, to figure out your right way. So let's get into it. So today I am kicking off this idea of focusing on specific industries and sharing how you can feel more energized. So to start it off, it's working on your luxury travel agency. And again, as I mentioned, like, you have a lot that's going on right now. If that's dealing with different time zones, difficult clients, having to deal with DMCs, planning trips yourself, the communication between different groups of people that can be difficult, especially if there's any language issues that can come up. And then dealing with commissions or design fees, or even the belief of, is this business capable of supporting the quality of life that I want? There's all of these different, how you can think about it for your mind. Your mind can be pinballing all over the place. And so I want to share with you that sequence of strategies to feel more energized. But it starts with this belief. Going back to, what are the beliefs that are in the driver's seat of your life? And specifically, I mentioned that belief of, are you capable to growing this business into supporting the quality of life that you want? That could be a belief that you've experienced or are currently experiencing. And so I go back to, it absolutely is possible, based off of this principle of immense potential, which states that you have more potential within you than you could ever develop in your lifetime. So true fulfillment comes from being on that path of developing that potential. And so reminding yourself whenever you go down what I call these tornado thoughts of the uncertainty, and then you're feeling stressed in that uncertainty and that unknown, that's a really difficult place for the body to be, because for your nervous system, it does want to keep you safe. And so the unknown, that can create a lot of this feeling of stress, and a lot of that feeling of stress either throughout the day or throughout the week. And so coming back to this principle of realizing just how much you're capable of is so important to kick it off here today, and to remember that for yourself. And now what I want to get into is a technique that you can try. Whenever I'm going through specifically some habits, strategies that I'll talk about, or techniques, and then being able to help you with shifting which beliefs are in the driver's seat of your life, before we're going through all of that, you've got to figure out what is right for you. And so this truth anchor technique is so helpful to be able to do that. So what what we can do here together is actually take a deep inhale through the nose, going to release it out through the mouth, get settled into the space. Give yourself this time. So here we go. Deep inhale. Oh yeah. And then release. There you go. Okay. You can even shake it off a little bit if you like. There we go. So with the truth anchor technique, it's repeating your name 3 times by saying, my name is, and then I would say Robert David, and noticing where you feel that in your body as a signal, because that name, it resonates for you. And so in other areas of life and strategies that you're learning about, because you could be someone that wants to check out all the different videos and check out the different podcasts. And so you might be trying to figure out what resonates for you. And by understanding where you feel that in your body as a signal is so powerful. Here we go. So you can put, if you'd like, a hand on your chest or on your stomach, and then repeat your name 3 times. My name is Robert David. My name is Robert David. My name is Robert David. And noticing where you feel that vibration from your voice. Is it in your chest, stomach, or in your head? And then you can even write that down to remember it. But that, and you may have to repeat this if this is your first time doing this. You may have to repeat this like 20 times to notice that, because it can be subtle as well for the signal. And especially if you're not used to knowing those different body signals, it can be difficult at first. It's like any habit. It does take repetition. And so, yeah, you can make a note of that, write that on down. And now for contrast, this is very helpful. You're going to make up a name and then repeat that 3 times, and notice where your voice resonates in the body for the signal. So I'm going to put my hand on my stomach and on my chest. Then I take a deep inhale, and then repeat your name 3 times. My name is John. My name is John. My name is John. So where I notice that more is like even outside of my body, up in my head. That's where I can notice the contrast. And that can be helpful because that name doesn't resonate for me. So again, going back to all these strategies that you're learning, insights, that can help you to determine, okay, this does not resonate with me. I don't need to take the energy and the time to focus on this and trying to implement it. All right. So now what we can do is we're going to bring our awareness on down to our toes. So wiggle the toes a little bit. Here you go. Wiggle them, wiggle them. And then what I want you to do is bring your awareness on up to your legs, thighs, stomach, chest. Raise your arms up if you'd like. Head. And then like a dating app, just going to swipe left, get the energy out, clear it out. Whew. I forgot to mention, if you're not able to go through these exercises, then you can come back to them always. But we're going to clear that energy out. We're going to reset. And then I want to get into a broken swing. This broken swing is focused on beliefs. So you do have beliefs that are in the driver's seat of your life. The belief that you are not good enough to create and grow a business that is supporting the quality of life that you want. That could be a belief in the driver's seat right now. Or it could be a belief that just on the basic level, you can't have a business that covers your living expenses, or that you can't handle this growth that's coming your way right now in the business. It's feeling too overwhelming, and it doesn't feel like something that you can sustain in the long term. But we do have these different beliefs that can feel like we're holding ourselves back. And so what happens is then you feel drained because of it. It can feel like you have the weight of the world on your shoulders and you're just like trying to get through the day and move on to the next one and the next one and the next one. It never feels like you can play on offense and feel like you can get ahead. And so with the broken swing, you think about it in the playground, and you're swinging, but if you're swinging on a broken swing, it's feels chaotic. It's like you're kind of swinging forward, swinging back. There isn't any stability there. And so what could be happening right now for you is that you feel stuck. You feel like you'll get some momentum sometimes, but then you swing back and then you feel like you're just stuck in the same place. And then months can go by, years can go by. What's happening is figuring out what is the belief that is there causing you to feel stuck. Going back to some of those examples I shared. And which one, going through this truth anchor technique that we just went through, which one resonates for you? Or is there another one I haven't said that resonates for you? But it's focusing on those specific areas right now that feel like they're not working out for you as you're working on your business. You just feel like, okay, there's something missing. If only I had this other strategy or insight, like just something isn't feeling like it's complete for this specific area, or something's off. That's where you want to focus on determining what is the belief. And like a broken swing, if you can add another chain to that swing and make it a stable swing, then it becomes a lot easier for you to swing forward with momentum and then to be able to swing backwards. And what's important to remind you is that your nervous system constantly wants to keep you in balance. And so your body is constantly communicating with you. It's your job to be able to listen to what your body is trying to communicate to you and then make those adjustments on the habit level and then even deeper than that on belief system level. And you're not perfect. I'm not perfect. We make those mistakes, but it's being able to learn from the mistakes for the insights and then let go of those mistakes. But one of the most important skills that you can develop, I think about that for mastering a skill as an entrepreneur, is mastering communication with your body. Because there's so many changes that are happening, and you can notice that in your own industry for different changes that are happening. Things seem to keep moving rapidly. And so if you can master the communication with your body, you can then navigate that change a lot easier and be able to get to that point where you aren't experiencing that chronic stress. It doesn't mean you're going to get rid of stress. Stress is there as a signal. And how you can think about it is pressure balloons. So the one big signal from the body for stress is pressure. I notice that a lot on my left side whenever I feel stressed. And then how I imagine it is a balloon filling up in my body with stress. Now, those balloons, they could either be there it could have been there for a few days, or it could have been there for years. And that ties back into then this broken swing. There could be a belief that you've been holding on to, either as a kid going into an adult to then as a business owner, that's been there that you may not even realize has been there. One that comes up for me is, can I handle the success? Can I sustain that? And so what would happen is that would hold me back from even getting started and creating that momentum. And that was one I had to work through. But that was a big pressure balloon. And so it comes back to the focus is not just to listen to the body, but then with pressure balloons, to pop those pressure balloons, to release that stress out of the body. And so what I want to come back to is that other chain of the swing, which is, what is an empowering belief that you can add into focus, or you can bring into focus for your life in a specific area as you're working on the business. And this part may sound really simple, but where the hard part comes in is putting in the repetitions with the habits that support that empowering belief so that it becomes familiar for your nervous system. Because something that's unfamiliar can cause your nervous system get into to create a stress response in your body, where then you feel that stress. It goes back to the unknown. With something that's uncertain, and especially if you have uncertainty about the future in the business, for this business, that can cause your body to feel stressed and then create that pressure balloon. And so, again, another focus is to help bring these empowering beliefs to become familiar with your nervous system. But for you, what could be an empowering belief that you could add into the driver's seat and change out for this old belief? or this belief that doesn't serve you any longer. And then a little bit later on, I'm going to get into how you can create the habits to support that belief. But the one example I can share with you now is the feeling you can't have a business that covers your living expenses. That could be, as the example for a belief, that's the one that could be coming up. Now, for feeling stuck, what can happen is you start to compare yourself to other people in your industry. You start to get really, angry, and you're like frustrated. You could distract yourself. So that could be a habit that you're doing, is distracting yourself with not focusing on the tasks that help to move the business forward. Or you feel then lost. Feel lost of like, what's going to be my next strategy? How do I move forward? How do I make this business happen? And so that's what can come up. But then the empowering belief, as an example, could be, it's possible to have a business that covers my living expenses. A simple adjustment of it's possible, always coming back to that. And so what can happen for habits to support that empowering belief is focusing on your tasks, less scrolling, knowing when to recharge. Going back to that quote that the work will never stop. It's up to you to decide when it stops. So that's an example to help you out for the contrast. Now it's getting into some specific habits and strategies, or habits and techniques that you can implement in your day in the short term to help you for supporting these empowering beliefs that you can bring into focus for your life and for different areas that you're working on in your business. So the first one is movement resets. Being able to create moments throughout the day for movement. And this is something I talked to my life partner, Adriana, about, where it's breaking up the day. You can get sucked into these tornado thoughts and then get distracted. And what can happen is then hours go by and then you just feel like you didn't really get a lot done in the day. So if you can interrupt those patterns consciously with movement, by moving, you're creating energy literally in the body. And so then you can channel that energy into the work tasks and actually have better insights, better perspectives and strategies that you could focus on for the challenge that you're dealing with by feeling more energized. And so simply you could have it where you work time block, if that's creating 45 minutes to an hour to focus on a work task, and then having a 5 to 15 minute movement reset where you could go outside for a walk. I do a few push-ups. You could dance, like we know, and dance to your favorite songs. You could get outside for that walk or the run too, and then come on back and then get to the next work task. And you can break this up a few times throughout the day. You can even go for, early in the morning, go for a longer walk. Then, if that's around lunchtime, you can go for another long walk. And then at the end of the day too, you could do another walk as well. Like that could be a sample of what you could try out. But that really then helps you to feel more energized at the end of the day, so that you don't feel so fucking exhausted with all the stuff you got going on, where you go to sleep and then you're sleeping on what can feel like defeated energy. Like it doesn't feel like a win for the day. I'll get to another technique that can help you out for creating a safety net for feeling like you've won the day. The next habit that is so helpful, and it's really funny how it really sometimes blows my mind how difficult this can be for a habit. But it's such a simple habit to implement, and that is celebrating the rep. What I mean by that is celebrating the rep whenever you do something that you want more of. That could be with these movement resets as a habit. It could be finishing work tasks, but celebrating for yourself. And how I do that now is I'll tap both my shoulders, raise my arms up, and I'll go like, yeah, like physically I'll celebrate. I did start that way. It's more like a woo. And then Adriana, like she'll like do a fist bump, but sometimes for the celebrating the rep. But what's interesting is you may have a lot of resistance towards this for a habit because you've been unfamiliar with creating moments of celebration for yourself, of being proud of yourself. And I think that's such a beautiful gift that you can give to yourself because it encourages you to want to keep moving forward in what you're doing. And so it can remind the body you want more of this through celebrating. By moving and physically celebrating, you create more energy in the body. And then it can be a way for the body to release dopamine, the internal reward that reinforces you want more of this. And that becomes a really great for creating more momentum. of like, okay, I like this. I just celebrated. That was awesome. Now let me have more of this and keep going. And so that's another habit. Now I want to get into 2 techniques for you. The at least technique is really helpful if you're having those days where it is a struggle to get work tasks done, to get your movement resets in, to have those moments to interrupt the patterns of these tornado thoughts that can happen with these beliefs that are in the driver's seat that you're focused on changing and kicking out of the driver's seat and bringing in new empowering beliefs. But with the at least technique, it's telling yourself, at least I'm going to put a rep in for the bare minimum. And so at least that could be sending that one email, or at least I'll post one time on social media today, or at least I'll get back to one of the responses I got. What happens is you start the momentum and you create that momentum. It can feel energizing to create that momentum fast, because for the body, if it feels like there's going to be less effort required, it becomes a lot easier for the body to want to put in that rep for yourself. You know that, where you can have this big thing you got to get done and you keep pushing it off and procrastinating about it. And so if you can break it on down, it doesn't feel so overwhelming or cause you to feel stressed. Or let's put it this way, feel like a higher level of stress with this. And so I think back to a movement reset. I can tell myself, hey, at least I'll get outside for 5 minutes. 5 minutes is better than no minutes. But maybe once I get out there for 5 minutes, I could stay out there a little bit longer, 10, 15 minutes. So this is a starting point. And it's remembering that where you start isn't going to be where you end up, as long as you keep moving forward. And so you can put in more repetitions, but this is a great way to at least get started for that momentum. Then the next one I have for you is the push start technique. So with the push start technique, this is very helpful either at the end of the night before going to bed, or even right when you wake up in the morning. Adriana mentioned this too, of trying this out in the morning to get your day started. But what it is a form of movement for your body, at least 10 seconds. Going back to the at least technique. The push start technique with this one, being able to do a form of movement that could be dancing, stretching, it could be a few push-ups for at least 10 seconds. What it can do at the end of the night, if you've had a very exhausting day, it feels like it's been fucking exhausting, things didn't work out really how you wanted to, and it can feel like a defeating day. If you sleep on that energy, it becomes a lot harder to then wake up the next day and continue that momentum, right? Tomorrow is a new day to reset, but it can be a lot more difficult. So if you feel like you've won in some way, and that can be one of the last things you remember for your body, sleeping on that energy, then it becomes a little bit easier, I've noticed for myself, to wake up the next day and continue to put the reps in for working on the business. And so what it'll do on those days right before going to bed is that with just at least 10 seconds, it's a low effort so it becomes a lot easier for the body to show up for it, even on when you don't feel like it. And then what will happen is you'll have that moment of like, I just did that. Like, fuck yeah. Like, I just put a rep in. I didn't really feel like it. I did it. And then again, going back to celebrating the rep, if you do a celebration of the rep, you're going to double dip into then this feeling of momentum and excitement. And it's not enough for you to like feel energized where you aren't able to go to sleep, but you feel like feeling energized right before going to bed, and feeling like it's a win, goes back to then what it can do for you the next day, tomorrow. And then in the morning, if you wake up, you can feel energized with this technique to then get the day started for that momentum. That can be another way you can try this out. But now coming back full circle to the broken swing. So focusing on what is the beliefs that are holding you back as you're working on your business, that feel like they're the areas that are not working, something's off. What is that belief that's in the driver's seat right now? Make a note of that, write that down. And then it's asking yourself again, what is the empowering belief that you can add in that can now feel like a new chain in this swing so that you can move forward with momentum, and then remembering that naturally you're going to swing backwards. So that's really important, because as things are starting to work for you, if something happens, let's say you have an off day, or let's say a mistake happens, you can get really pissed at yourself with that. It goes back to, you're not perfect, I'm not perfect, but when we feel like we're having this momentum moving forward and then we make a mistake, we're like, oh shit, I can't believe I just did that. Well, it's just remembering that your nervous system wants to bring you back into balance. And so naturally you have those moments of having your off days. Like that happens, or off moments. But what's important is to remember that this is a pattern so that you don't have to take it so personally, that this is something that's natural to have happen so that it can become easier and faster for you to get back on track and continue to put the reps in. There's nothing wrong with you. You're not broken when you understand that your body is there to communicate with you. For your nervous system, it's there to bring you back into balance. And so as you put the reps in, it's figuring out the habits that you can put the reps in that support this empowering belief. And so it comes back to the example I used of it's possible to have a business that covers my living expenses. That's like the simplest example. You can use that as a model for another belief that you're thinking about. But for that one, okay, instead of comparing myself with all these other people, let me just focus on the tasks that I got to get done in the business, because I know it's possible for me to have a business that covers my living expenses. Okay, how about less scrolling and distracting myself and actually focus on what I got to get done in the day? Or then let me figure out when I need to recharge for myself, like how much time I can put in those work time blocks, and then take a movement reset, because then I can move faster towards having this business cover my living expenses, because I know it's possible. And so those are the different habits. And then it's, of course, celebrating the reps, using the at least technique, push start technique, movement resets, bringing all those in to support you. And you may even have one or two other habits that are coming up that you could focus on for yourself, for your specific example. It's implementing those. And then as you put in more repetitions, what will happen is that new empowering belief will take over and be put in the driver's seat. And you can have this moment where you make that decision, right? It can take time to get to that point where you make this decision, but consciously you can feel that moment where you decide, okay, this is now in the driver's seat. And I know it is possible. And I feel that in my entire nervous system. And that will be an incredible signal from your body where you can even feel more energizing in that moment. And then you get to move forward. And how you can imagine it for the swing is you get to the point where you've been swinging forward and backwards, and now you get to just jump off the swing and then realize that there's another broken swing right in front of you. Another area where you can either upgrade that belief that you just put into the driver's seat and saying, instead of it's possible to have a business that covers my expenses, I know I can have a business that creates an extraordinary quality of life. And that becomes that new broken swing where you got to, add the new chain into that swing, make it stable, swing forward with momentum, swing backwards, have the habits that support that empowering belief. And then you just realize this is an ongoing process. And then you get to just within that, be able to give this gift to yourself of the confidence to be able to, for your confidence to be able to grow and to realize that you can handle the challenges that are going to come your way. That you have the capability to listen to signals from your body and make those adjustments on a habit level, and then even deeper than that on a belief system level. You are able to take back that control for yourself and to be able to move forward into working on this business for the goals that you set, and then for creating this quality of life that you want, that you want this business to be able to support. And if you haven't heard it yet today, I believe in you. You have the skills and the capability to be able to listen to your body. And then being able over time, as you put in more energy and time in this area, mastering that skill of communication with your body. But it's natural to be able to listen and then make those adjustments on the habit and the belief system level. It's just giving yourself that space to be able to focus on this. You got this.